Good afternoon. My name is Donna Wright. I am the manager of scientific session development. And I have my colleague with me, Anna Keller, who's the director of conventions at
Oh,
APHA.
hello, everybody. Welcome.
And the purpose of today's training is to make sure you are well prepared for your presentation coming up and to allow you to ask us any questions that you might have. Next slide. So prior to the conference, a moderator and a co-host will be assigned to manage your session. You will be able to upload your bio to the speaker's corner. The deadline was yesterday, so if you have not had a chance to do that, please do so as soon as possible. The moderator should reach out to presenters and coordinate a practice Zoom meeting with you to test the equipment and to run through the session. The moderator may ask to collect your PowerPoint presentation in advance as well, just to have as a backup in case you have any problems sharing your screen in the Zoom platform. You do not need to upload your PowerPoint in advance. I know that's one of the questions that have come up. It's only if the moderator reaches out to you to ask you to submit the PowerPoint to them.
Don, I wanted to jump in for 1 second here just to let people know that we haven't been able to fill all the moderator slots. So it is possible that you haven't heard from a moderator. We are still working to fill those slots, but I think Donna will address a little bit later what to do if there is no moderator.
All right, next slide, please. Thank you. So presenting in Zoom, we are encouraging you to download the Zoom app on your desktop to familiarize yourself with the Zoom platform. You want to make sure to check your camera in advance, test your microphone, practice screen sharing, and check your internet speed to make sure everything is all set for the day of your presentation. Next slide. So just some basic details. The oral sessions are conducted in live Zoom meetings. Sessions are scheduled in Mountain Time. You will have 15 minutes to present. A Convex tech support person will be available to help with any Zoom issues you may have during your session. All sessions are being recorded and can be viewed until August 31st of 2021. Each presenter will have a discussion board where registrants can leave you a question or pose a question to you regarding your presentation. You will be sent an email where you can respond to them.
And I just wanted to jump in here as well about the Mountain Time. Even though the entire meeting is scheduled in Mountain Time, you will notice that when you go to the virtual meeting platform, it will default to your local time. So it's just important to know what time you are viewing it in. You have a choice to view it in Mountain Time, but it will default to your local time. That also is the case when you're building your schedule. It will default to your local time.
And another point on that I wanted to make is that in your speaker's corner, when you do view your session in your speaker's corner, it will show you Mountain Time, but when you log into the meeting platform, the time will change to your local time. So there has been some confusion around that. So I just wanted to clarify that. So on the day of your presentation, you will log into the virtual meeting platform 20 minutes before your presentation. You will navigate to your session and click on the Join Now button to access your Zoom session. We're asking you to rename yourself by putting speaker in front of your name. Tech support will be available to make you a Zoom co-host so that you can share your screen. The moderator will start the session and introduce the presenters. The day of the presentation continued. The moderator will start the session and introduce presenters. You'll share your screen. You will have 15 minutes to present, and then you will stop sharing your screen for the next presenter once your presentation ends. There will be 15 minutes for Q&A at the end of the session. Q&A will be managed using the chat function in Zoom. And during the Q&A, we would ask you to turn on your video and microphone. If you are asked a question, remember to keep your answers short so we can cover as many questions as possible. The moderator will then end the session.
One thing I wanted to add about the session in general is that the presenters are asked to come 20 minutes early. It is possible that an attendee may show up early as well. That's why it's so important for you to identify yourself as a speaker so that the Confex tech can give you the co-host privileges. But so don't be alarmed if you find that there are people that log in early to the session that are not speakers. They are just eager audience members.
So what to do if the moderator doesn't show? If we're not able to secure a moderator for your session, we're asking that the presenter who's listed on the schedule first to go ahead and start the session on time. The co-host role is to basically monitor the chat function during the session. If there's no moderator or co-host, I guess the onus is going to have to be on the presenter to, I guess, at the end of the session to just ask questions to the audience and have them turn on their microphone, and you can do your live Q&A at that time. If a presenter doesn't show up, just stick to the schedule. Whoever the next person in line is to present should proceed with presenting. If no one's asking a question, you can kind of start a conversation within the last 15 minutes of the session to see if you can generate some questions from the audience. And if not, you can just tell them, you know, thank you for coming to the session. There's a discussion board below my abstract. If they wanted to leave some questions later for you to respond later. Next slide. Okay, so for the Q&A, we're asking you to keep your questions short and to the point, and we will be posting on our website this recording after the meeting, and we will let you know when that's been posted. So I guess at this time we can take some questions from the audience.
And actually, for the Q&A, I just wanted to bring up one point, and that is that the audience should be prompted to direct their questions to specific speakers, because all of the speakers are presenting first, and then the Q&A is at the end. If your question is for a particular speaker, you should identify that speaker by name. If you're using the Zoom Q&A. You could also allow people to verbally ask questions. That would really depend on how many people are in the Zoom meeting. If it's a large number, you would want to limit them to the Zoom chat feature and not verbally ask questions. Okay, so Donna, did you want to stop the slideshow and now open it up to questions?
Yeah, I think we can open it up to questions.
Okay. So I know there are lots of questions in our Q&A right now. Marisa, have you been monitoring those? Would you like to push some to us?
Yeah, there was a few people that asked about their moderators. They haven't heard from their moderators. What should they do?
Yeah, so we're still trying to secure moderators for all of the sessions. And hopefully, if we can get them secured and into the system, they'll be able to reach out to you this week. However, if you do not hear from a moderator, we should probably assume that we weren't able to get a moderator for your session. So you just should prepare to have your slides available, share your screen during the session, and start the presentation on time.
And there was also a question about co-presenters. Can you have more than one person or co-presenter present live?
Well, we technically don't usually allow people to co-present, but as long as the co-presenter is registered for the meeting, as long as the co-presenter has become a member, we will allow co-presenters as long as you stick within your 15-minute presentation. And you will have to upload both bios in your speaker's corner, as well as notify the moderator if there's a moderator assigned to your session that you will be co-presenting.
But in general, I would say we discourage co-presenting. Your abstract was accepted as an individual representing your paper, and that was the expectation.
There's also a question I already answered in the chat, but somebody wanted to know what to do if there's technical issues. How do they contact the Confex Tech?
So in your session, there will be a Confex Tech support. They will be identified as such. They're monitoring 4 sessions at a time. So they're moving in and out. So you can always leave a message in the chat. So they're constantly going back and forth between sessions, and they will be able to see your question if you're having any technical issues, and they'll be able to assist you.
And so you'll see them in the participant list, and you'll be able to identify them easily, as Donna mentioned, by their name. They'll put
Yeah, and
their name.
they usually have their logo on the screen too.
Right.
So someone's asking to clarify the role of the co-host versus the moderator. The moderator is managing the overall session. They're introducing the panelist. They're keeping everyone to the schedule. The co-host is responsible for monitoring the chat box. Another question is coming in about submitting your PowerPoint. The PowerPoints weren't to really be submitted anywhere within the system. We were asking the moderator to reach out to the presenters and collect them PowerPoints from you, just so that they could have it as a backup in case you run into any problems during your session with sharing your screen. But if you did not hear from the moderator, I would just proceed with making sure you have your presentation ready for the actual session. Question, can someone explain the process for those who will be presenting via PowerPoint? Basically, again, the person presenting with the PowerPoint will have the PowerPoint presentation slide on their desktop, and during the session, they'll share their screen and they will just begin presenting their presentation. There may be some presenters who are just going to present off the cuff and not have a slide presentation, and that's okay too.
Oh, there's also a question about my session doesn't have an assigned moderator.
Right, we're still trying to secure moderators, as I mentioned before. If we're not able to get a moderator, you should just proceed with presenting your session, starting it on time without a moderator.
I see there's a question about how are the moderators getting the presenter info? It doesn't seem to be straightforward way to get that information.
The moderators were sent several emails explaining to them what session they're scheduled for, and they were given instructions on how to reach out to the presenters. Moderators have their own speakers corner, and that's where they would download your bios to introduce you during the session, as well as a link to your email address so that they can contact you. And we did ask them to set up a dry run to walk through your session. And hopefully, again, if a moderator has been assigned to your session, they will reach out and do that. We will be sending a reminder email before the end of this week to the moderators, asking them to make sure that they connect with the presenters.
There's also a question about what happens if we lose power or local internet connection during our session. Well, if you lose internet connection, that's going to be a problem. One of the things that we are hoping to roll out is a mobile app version of the program. If you lose internet connection, you may be able to connect through your phone.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a question about internet speed. Did we mention that in our slides? What is the minimum requirement?
So really the minimum requirement is 25 megabits per second. And that's for a single user in a single home. If you're in a home with, let's say, 3 or 4 people, you really need internet speed of about 100 Mbps. That'll give you a good internet connection for this.
Somebody asked if we can review the first slide.
We're going to be posting this recording Well, it should be available tomorrow, Anna, maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we'll have it posted. It should be posted to the guidelines for oral presenters. If you navigate to the APHA website and click on for presenters, and then you will see a link to the oral session guidelines. We'll have a link to this recording with the slides.
Let's see.
Someone said that they weren't able to upload their bio. If you try to do this in the speaker's corner, I'm not sure what problem you may have had. If you do, if a moderator reaches out to you, that was the whole purpose of the bio, is to submit it to the moderator. So if the moderator reaches out to you, you can just email a copy of your bio if you were unable to upload it in the speaker's corner. Of course, if there is no moderator for your session, you would just introduce yourself.
There's a question about Mountain versus Eastern, I guess in the speaker's corner.
Right,
The
as I
Mountain
mentioned,
time versus the program.
right, as I mentioned earlier, the speaker's corner will show you your session scheduled in Mountain Time. However, when you click on the link to your session and go to the meeting platform, it will default to your local time. So if you're Eastern Time, it's going to show the times in Eastern Time, which is the time you should be prepared to do your presentation and be available for the meeting.
So that is a little confusing, and
Yeah.
that's why we're putting so much emphasis on it.
Right.
And that's also why, you know, we want people to sign in 20 minutes early so that they can test their mics and their webcams and their screen sharing, make sure they're able to do all that.
And also make sure you understand and learn how to navigate to your session. I would log in, sign in as soon as possible if you haven't already done so. And you can always do a search for your session by number, or you could do a search by day, or you can do a search by program if you know the section to where your session is scheduled.
Donna, someone asked if we could actually show that capability. Do you want me to share my screen and briefly show them how to maneuver through the virtual meeting platform?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Okay, so can you all see this now? This is essentially what you'll see from our home screen. And there are several ways on the left-hand side. You can browse by day, you can browse by program, and you can also use the search bar up at the very top. There's a little search bar up there. You can browse by session number if you want. So let's say I click the search bar and I put in, I don't know, I'll make up a number, see if it actually exists. And yeah, 4026 is an epidemiology session. When you maneuver to your session, there will be a link right here, right below the title, that will allow you to join. I think it'll replace this message here that says join 4026. It'll instead say join now. That button will not be visible until 20 minutes before. So basically that's how you maneuver. You can view by date as well. You could go to your specific day of the week. Sometimes you have to wait a minute for the screen to refresh. Right now there we go. It's not showing very much, but this is just a straight chronological listing of sessions. That's another way you can view it. I think many people prefer to browse by program because you know, you're affiliated with a specific section, SPIG, or caucus, and so it's kind of natural for you to look for that section, SPIG, or caucus and find your program there. So yeah, there are many different ways to maneuver to your program. Again, up in the top right corner is that search bar. That search bar is also available from the left navigation right here. And so you can put in your 4-digit session number. You can put in the title of your session. You can put in your name even, and it should find you. So I think I'll stop sharing there. So I see that we have a lot of questions. I think what we'll probably have to do is we'll copy all of these questions and try and come up with a Q&A that will also be available with the recording, hopefully by tomorrow on our website. But before we stop completely, is there anything else, Marisa, that we could answer now that might alleviate some concerns? I do see a question about, is it possible to poll the audience during the session? That's a little complicated because you would really have to submit your polling questions in advance. It will be, if you try and do it on the fly, I'm afraid we may not be able to do it because it's only the Convex tech that can enter those polling questions for you.
Here's an interesting question. Can we give recommendations for moderators if the speaker goes over time? Can we take the screen sharing from a presenter, or can we give recommendations on this in the virtual platform?
Donna, did you want to take that one?
I don't know how, I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Can we give recommendations if a speaker goes over time, which we tell the moderators, and can we take away the screen sharing capability from a presenter over time?
Well, we're giving the moderators instructions so that they know that after the 15 minutes presentation, that they should take control and move on to the next presenter.
I think the other thing is they can use the chat feature as well to privately chat with the presenter and ask them to wrap up that they have gone over time.
Yeah. Someone wanted to know how to put speaker in front of their name.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's a pretty easy thing. In the Zoom session, you'll notice that there's where your screen is, a little 3-dot elliptical. If you click on that, it brings down a list, and one of the things on the list is rename. So if you click on that, it'll show whatever was previously there, and you can rename it. I just renamed myself APHA-Anna Keller. So again, it's the little elliptical in the top right corner of your Zoom screen.
This is Tia. There is, people are asking if you could show how to upload your bio, Anna, can you do that using the screen share function, Donna?
I can try. I would need to have access to someone's speaker's corner.
The speaker's corner is kind of interesting because it's a very personalized. Each of you has a link that takes you directly to your speaker's corner. So for us to duplicate exactly your experience is a little difficult unless we're using your credentials.
Let me see what I can do. I'm going to share my screen. I'm just going to go to a random presentation. Okay, so this is what you see when you log into your speaker's corner. And to upload your bio, you would just click on this tab, upload photo and bio, if applicable. You would click on your name. And then click on short bio. And then you would just type in your bio here, you would save it. And then when the moderator logs into her speaker's corner or his speaker's corner, he or she will be able to download what you've uploaded. I hope that's helpful. Okay. Any other questions that we can answer?
Somebody was asking what the join now button will look like. Did we already show that on the platform?
Well, we showed where it is. We didn't show what it will look like because there aren't any live events right now that we can point to. As I said, it only shows up 20 minutes before the session, so you will not see it today for a session that occurs later.
And if someone's asking about using a government Zoom.
Yeah, so we have heard that some people with government Zoom accounts have some issues or concerns. I think the best thing to do is if you have access to a non-government machine, that's the best way to circumvent those restrictions. And I don't really know what those restrictions are. I mean, the Zoom links that you're getting are Zoom links provided by our vendor. And so the problem's not so much on our side, it's whatever your government computer is restricting you to. I don't know, Tia, have you had any issues with people using government Zoom accounts?
Very few. Most systems do allow for the use of Zoom. We just encourage everyone to practice. You can get a free Zoom account and practice using Zoom meetings. That's a function, that's something that everyone can do in advance. So I would just check that out on using your government device.
Thank you. Yeah, and I see that there was a question about a poster presentation and whether there was a presentation format required or a particular template. Because this is an all virtual meeting and you're not restricted to a 9 or a 6x4 poster board, you have a lot more flexibility this year. We drastically simplified the poster template. It is simply a PowerPoint presentation now. With all the standard areas that you would have in a poster, from your methods to your solution resolutions and introduction. All those different pieces are in the PowerPoint template that we provided for poster sessions, and that's available from the Speaker's Corner. But you're not restricted to that. If you're more comfortable doing the large scale poster format, you can do that. The problem with posters is that they need to be pre-recorded. And we wanted to simplify this process for everybody. And so if you are pre-recording a large poster presentation, you need to zoom in to different areas as you talk about them. And it's a little bit more of a complicated process. If you're using a standard PowerPoint presentation, it's very easy. It's very similar to what we were doing with our PowerPoint earlier in this session. Okay, let's see. So there have been people that said they tried to log into the virtual site using the registration ID and email, but got a message ID not found. That is definitely a problem that we want to take care of as soon as we can. So there's a help desk feature in the left navigation. And if you go to that, it's got some instructions about what to do. It could be that your email address is not matching, could be that we have more than one record for you, could be a number of questions, so definitely want to get that resolved in advance. And the question was, will we have a time warning if we're approaching 15 minutes of our presentation? That's really, we're hoping that the moderators will do that they will warn you that you're getting to the end, but I think really you should just track that yourself. Try and be cognizant of how long you've spoken. One thing that's very helpful is to practice your presentation so you know exactly how long it's going to be.
A few people asked about the discussion board that's going to be on the platform.
Yeah, so if you go to your presentation in the meeting platform and scroll below the description or the abstract of your abstract, there is a box, which is a discussion board where people can leave those comments or pose questions to you. You will be sent an email to respond. And because this annual meeting is being recorded, or the sessions are being recorded and available through next August, you may get emails throughout the summer or, shortly after the meeting as well. So you'll get an email, you'll be able to respond to those questions. Donna,
you want me to show them that one, or?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so I'll just share my screen quickly on that. So I should go back one level so you can see when you're on a presentation level and you scroll down, you see the presentations. This one has 4 presentations in it. If you click on any one of the presentations, it gives the abstract, the authors, the learning areas, and this is the discussion board down here. So even now, people can reach out to you directly. They can put a question in here. You will be notified on the back end that you received a question and you can respond to the question here. You'll also have the ability to edit this. If, let's say, the same question is asked several times, you can delete the duplicates. You can reword your responses. You will have full editing capability of this discussion board. And so it's possible that people could communicate with you before the meeting. They could also communicate with you after the meeting. It could even be several months after the meeting that people will get to your session and see the discussion board feature. And I guess all we would ask is that you try and respond to those questions in a timely manner.
Someone's asking, can we update the recording of our posters? Unfortunately, no. We're already posting those recordings. They're available now for on-demand viewing. So it's too late to now go back and upload a revised recording.
There's a question from someone who wants to know if they can share a copy of their presentation, a PDF of their presentation. Is there still a handouts option?
Yes, in the speaker's corner, there is an option to upload a handout. Just log into the speaker's corner and go to that module and you can upload a PDF. And it will be displayed in the meeting platform. Someone said that they cannot find the speaker's corner. If you go back to some of the previous emails sent to you from presenters at apha.org, we included the direct link to your speaker's corner. So look for any emails from presenters at apha.org. Also check your spam. The acceptance email would have had it, and several subsequent emails would have also had a link to your direct speaker's corner.
And on a similar vein, we got, can you share the speaker corner link here in the chat? And unfortunately, we can't do that because it's a specific link for each speaker.
Right. But we do have on frequently asked questions, I believe. where you can retrieve your abstract ID and password, and it will take you to your speaker's corner. But again, check one of those previous emails sent. There's a direct link. It's right in that email. You just have to click on it. It will take you right there.
So there's also some questions about the videos, the pre-recorded videos versus sharing their screen. Our expectation really is that you would be sharing your screen live and walking through your PowerPoint presentation. This is for oral sessions. For roundtable sessions, they really have sort of a choice because we're requiring them to upload their pre-recorded presentation in advance. So they could share the screen and run that video if they prefer, or they could share the screen and walk through their PowerPoint. Both of those options would work for them. But for the standard oral presentations, we're not requiring you to upload a pre-recorded presentation. We had only recommended that you send a copy of your presentation to your moderator in case you were having technical difficulties sharing your screen. So I would really anticipate that for the oral sessions, you are just walking through your PowerPoint presentation by sharing your screen.
And it sounds like, Anna, someone is concerned about, I guess, having their face on the presentation. What would they do in that instance?
Well, so if they're pre-record, well,
I mean, during the live presentation.
During the live?
Yeah, do they just turn off their video?
Yeah, you can just turn
Okay.
off your video. Yeah.
Okay. Just turn off your video and you can still share your screen and you can just give your presentation that way.
Right. And the instructions to the audience, of course, will be to turn off their mics and their video. So they should not be, you should not be seeing them.
There are a few questions about handouts. My understanding is you can upload PDFs of handouts to the speaker's corner. Is that correct?
That's right.
A few people asked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's optional, and we'd certainly encourage it if there's extra information you want to share, or if you want to share your presentation PDF. But it is optional. It's not, and it can also be done after the meeting. Isn't that right, Donna?
That's right. Up until the end of December, you can upload handouts.
Okay.
And it'll be visible on the presentation level, right?
On the presentation level, yes.
And I think it's right above that discussion box that you showed.
Donna, they also asked if a conflict of interest slide is necessary. It doesn't have to be a slide from what I understand, but you are supposed to verbally disclose if you have a conflict.
Right. And if you didn't have a conflict, you just say before you start, I don't have any conflicts.
There are quite a few questions around alternates or substitutes in the event that someone cannot present the day of.
Sure. So as long as the substitute is registered for the meeting and is a member, they can absolutely substitute. And the change for the presenter can be changed in the speaker's corner. So in the speaker's corner, you would just go to the presenter tab, and then there's an option to switch who the presenter is, if that person's already listed on the abstract. And if not, you can always add that person and use the radio button in the presenter column just to designate them as the presenter.
And there's a question, what is the Zoom link we need to get into our session? So I think maybe we just need to make it clear that every session has its own individual Zoom link. And that link will be visible from the virtual meeting platform when you navigate to that session, but you will not see it until 20 minutes before. But I just wanted to make that clear that every session has its own link.
Yeah, and it's embedded, so it's not like an actual link that you will get. You will just log into the platform, go to the session, and click on the Join Now button. That takes you into the session.
And I see another one, can we share PDFs of our PowerPoint presentation with links? I think there is some trouble with sharing with links in a Zoom meeting. I don't think that those will work. I don't know, Tia, can you respond to that? Do you know if you have links in your PowerPoint or on your PDF Will you be able to click on those links and open them in a Zoom meeting?
No, they won't be able to. The best thing to do is to upload, if you want people to be able to use your links and click on your links, is to upload it as a handout in the speaker's corner. The other thing that you can do is after your presentation, you can copy and paste those links into the chat function, and participants will be able to see the links that way, but no, they will not be able to click on them in Zoom.
Great, thanks. And yeah, there are a number of questions about how can you show your PowerPoint and access your notes at the same time. Unfortunately, when you're doing screen sharing, they're going to see whatever you're seeing. So they're going to see all your notes if you do it that way. You really need to do it full screen with the PowerPoint, and then hold your notes, because at that point they're no longer seeing you. You could have your paper in front of you, you could have whatever you want in front of you to be reading those notes.
And
And
another,
can you clarify that, because I think some people were asking if their cameras should be on during their presentation. So if their cameras are on, then they would be seen.
So I would say that the cameras should be on for Q&A. I don't think that the cameras have to be on for the presentations if you're not comfortable with it, or if you're planning to be reading your notes. I do think it makes for a more interactive session if you do see the person that's speaking up in the right-hand corner while you're viewing the slides. So that would be my recommendation, is yes, leave your camera on unless you're just not comfortable with that. Donna, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
no, but I wanted to talk about the presenter letter, which is a question that comes up all day long. When you register for the annual meeting, your email on your registration has to match the email submitted on your abstract in order for you to generate and print that presenter letter. The presenter letter really is optional for you. It's for your purposes, for your records. And I mean, if you don't need it for anything, it's not an issue. But if you want to print that letter, you have to go to the speaker's corner and go to the presenter co-author section and hit edit to change or update whatever contact information is in the abstract that matches the information on your registration. And once you do that, refresh the page, you'll be able to generate and print that letter.
Anna, did you refer to something? Somebody's asking what's the name of the mobile application that Anna was referring to?
Oh, yeah. So we're still hoping this will get finalized. That there will be a mobile app. If there is, we will immediately send a link to that. I was just saying that that might be one way if you are experiencing internet difficulty. It may be one way that you can access your session and join your meeting. I wouldn't count on it 100% because we have not yet finalized it, and we are running out of time. So it may not happen. So I guess the answer to the question, what do you do if your internet goes down? There's really not much you can do. Probably you want to notify the moderator that you're unable to join, but I'm not sure that they will get that message in a timely manner. Donna, you have any other suggestions for if their internet goes down or they're not?
Well, there is a way to join Zoom through phone, but you won't be able to share your screen. You can call in and give your presentation verbally. I guess that's true scenario.
That's true.
Yeah.
Somebody else can advance the slides for you.
Yeah. I mean, this is a situation with the all virtual meeting that we are very heavily dependent on the internet, and in our case, heavily dependent on Zoom working correctly. So we're just keeping fingers crossed and hoping all goes smoothly. But yeah, I think the other thing that you can do in terms of internet, making sure that it's a strong connection, is ask anybody else that's in the household to minimize their use of the internet while you are presenting. You should also close other applications that you have open. And you should, of course, download the newest version of Zoom. They are updating Zoom practically on a weekly basis, and it's really best to have the newest version. I can't think of any other tips for the internet issues.
Okay, well, I think our time is up. We will copy all of these questions and make sure we get answers for them. And again, this session is being recorded, and we will post the recording along with the questions and answers on the oral session guidelines page. So I want to thank all of you for joining us today and wish you all good luck on your presentation. And thank you for submitting your presentation to this year's annual meeting.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
all.
Thank you.
Have a good day.